All right, this is day 49. Second day in Moab. Uh, got up, got out, loaded up the Jeep, and decided we were going to head out to Hurrah Pass, Chicken Corners. So headed down the road to the McDonald's, hung a right, ran out of town on Cane Creek Road. Really cool. You know, it's just on the other side of the river from, what was that other highway, 279, I think it is. It runs out of town and goes out to the Potash lakes. So Cane Creek goes out, wanders through pretty cool canyons, goes down some switchbacks, and there's a lot of rock climbing areas in that area. Once you get down to the bottom, it's just a nice gravel road. Quite a few people out there, but man, just cliffs that are just huge, and rock faces, you know, single continuous rock faces that go a long, long way. Just all the beautiful red sandstone with different colors in it. Ran that, I don't know, a couple miles. Started getting rougher. Started getting more and more. I guess when we started getting closer to the Chicken Corners thing, we got to the Hurrah Pass, and that wouldn't. I think that comes after Chicken Corners. I can't remember this stuff. All I know is we did a lot of rock climbing type stuff today, with ledges and tight turns and not being able to see the road right in front of the Jeep, and asking Daniel how much room I have with, between the edge and the tire, and, stuff like that, which, I guess if you're a regular Jeeper, no big deal. Um, but, I don't have a lot of Jeeping experience, so we just went slow, took our time, uh, got out, stopped at Hurrah Pass, took a lot of pictures, let a bunch of side by side guys go by, enjoyed the view. And there's a weird spot out there. I don't know where it is, where it looks like you're seeing the curvature of the earth because the crust and all the layers in the crust are bowed up with a pretty severe curve. And when you see a picture of it, you think, oh, that's just a fisheye lens effect, making everything straight lines look curved. And it's like, no, it's all curved. It's really weird looking, kind of cool. Anyway, got over Hurrah Pass, went down that, kept going, missed a turn, I don't know, somewhere, and wound up on Lockhart Basin Road. Thought things were looking kind of familiar, and it's like, man, I just don't remember this road being like this. Started getting into a lot of sand, which on the north end of Lockhart Basin, you get into a lot of sand. Found the place where, we, we went until we got to some trees that were in a creek bed, and that was a spot where Roger and Steve and Joe and I all stopped in the shade after a particularly rough spot and took a break before we started heading into Moab. And that run back into Moab on the KTM 530, I don't remember that being really that challenging. I don't remember any steps. I don't remember it being rough. I don't remember it being particularly steep. I just remember cruising back to town and being happy I wasn't still on Lockhart Basin Road. And man, going out there on the Jeep, it was rough. I mean, we were bouncing around. There's a couple sections where it was just real big rocks just embedded in the road, and so it's just, there is no smooth line. You just let the Jeep roll, let it bounce. There's washboards that were kind of weird. Some places where it almost looked like the rocks were cut perfectly straight with a saw into big plates and then laid on the ground to form a road. I doubt that's what happened. That's what it looks like, because these cracks in these rocks were so the width of the crack was so consistent, and the straightness of the crack was so consistent. It was just kind of interesting. They were almost always sloped, but those were nice to drive on. They were relatively smooth, and the sand was a lot of fun to drive on because the sand, the big old fat tires that Jeep had on it, it just floats right through that sand. It glides. There's no bump in it. It's real smooth. And you can actually go pretty quick in the sand. We got not too far out on Lockhart, hit those trees, turned around, zipped back, encountered some more side-by-sides coming out. And usually I'd stop them and say, how many, and we'd count them so I'd know whether anyone else was coming. Saw quite a few motorcycles out there today. They looked like rental bikes, like little Kawasaki, I don't know, 250, 300, pretty small bikes. We saw like an XT 200, or maybe a 20, it wasn't a 250, it wasn't the newer fuel injected one, it was the carbureted older one. Two girls were riding, and they were riding really well. I was impressed. They were cruising along, getting over some pretty rough stuff, really nice. Got back to town, I don't know, 1 o'clock, 1:30, something like that. Later, went to Wendy's, got lunch, and then we thought, well, we don't want to turn the Jeep in yet. We got it till 5:30, and we paid a good bit for it, so we wanted to keep riding. And we were going to go out to Arches National Park until we got there, and it's like you got to have a permit just to get in the park at all from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And the line at, I don't know, 2:15, 2:30, whatever, was already pretty long. I didn't want to wait in that line. We'd never get into the park and have time to see anything. So we decided instead to go run as far as we could on the what's called the LaSalle Loop. You head south out of town on US 191, 7 miles or something, and you'll see a sign that says LaSalle Loop. You turn left, and you start heading towards the LaSalle Mountains, which were covered in a fresh powder from snow that came in. The rain we got last night, yesterday evening, it started raining, I don't know, 11 o'clock or so. Rained pretty good. It was still wet when we came out this morning. The bikes were wet, the parking lots were wet. The desert, when we went out to Chicken Corners and all that, was amazingly green. Just that little bit of rain in one evening. It's like I was out at Big Bend one time there in Texas, and a big storm came through one night. Now, it was a lot more rain that night, but the next 2 days, that place was so green and everything was blooming. It was amazing. I'd never seen it like that. And this was kind of the same thing. Whole mountainsides just turned green that weren't green, the day before. So anyway, we ran out to the mountains. Starts out paved. The road just winds up, and gets up, I don't know, 20 miles or so into the mountains. It's a really fun paved road. I was thinking it'd be cool to be on the bikes. And then eventually you get to Geyser Pass Road, and you hang a right and that's gravel. That's where the gravel starts. And it's a really good quality gravel. The road's very well maintained. There was a grader right there, had this big roller thing on it, the ones that have all the tires on them, like 2 or 3 rows of tires that just pulled along behind the grader, and they were working on the road. So we start heading up, we start climbing, getting higher and higher and higher, and we're getting into the aspen trees, we're getting closer to the snow. Eventually we passed a parking lot that also has some road construction stuff in it, and we started getting more into the aspen trees, which was kind of cool. I mean, they were all really yellow, a little bit of red and orange, but the road got real narrow and the trees came right up on it. And then there's signs saying, steep, narrow, blind corners, go slow. It's all right. And it was very steep, narrow, just really, really pretty. And the temperature started dropping fast. It was, I don't know, 85, 80, when we were out in the desert. It was getting warm, sometimes cold, sometimes warm. It was really weird. It would change, but up on the mountain it got down to 38. And that was at 4 o'clock, no, not 4 o'clock, 3:15, because basically we had like 3 hours to do this, so we ran an hour and a half out, knowing that we could have an hour and a half to get back and drop off the Jeep. And finally got up to the top of Geyser Pass, and there was snow on the ground. I mean, there was fresh snow we had driven past. The west side of one of the mountains the snow was starting to fade because the clouds finally broke, the sun came out, and it melted it off pretty quick. So it was a pretty fine dusting, but it was pretty. Some of the other mountains stayed covered. Got to the top, turned around, and started heading back down. Now, there was a section, though, in that area, once you got past that second parking area, they were putting fresh, new gravel on the road. It had been spread, and I don't know that I would say it had been run over with the rollers, because, there was big ridges in it that were so loose that, if I hit them with the tires of the Jeep, it would really push the Jeep around side to side, and the Jeep was kind of floating in the loose stuff, and it was fun. A couple times we were drifting in the corners and stuff, but had we been on the bikes, I might have been able to get through it on the 1200. I know Sarah wouldn't have enjoyed it at all. She doesn't like the deep, loose anything, whether it's sand or gravel. Daniel would have loved it. I don't know if he would have got through it, but he would have loved it either way. Because it was in corners, it was big, huge humps, and then it was just very uneven. It was spread, but it wasn't spread evenly or flat. So that might have been a challenge. The rest of the road was perfect, and especially once we got above that, the road was just really smooth, hard packed, really nice all the way to the top. Anyway, we came ripping back down through that, took lots of pictures, hauled back down to town. Had to wash the Jeep because it got pretty muddy. When we went out this morning, the roads had rain and there were some mud spots, so the mud gets all up on the side of the Jeep. And then we were goofing around and spinning tires and that kind of stuff and got it really dirty. And then there were some big puddles. It was like, well, it's already dirty, so we might as well. So the whole thing was pretty nasty by the time we got back to town. Found a car wash. I think it cost $9 or something to, it always cuts off 3/4 of the way through the car. You can't do one to soap it up, one to wash it, and one to rinse it. It's always cuts off a minute too soon. I'm sure that's intentional. But got the Jeep cleaned up, filled it up with gas. Thought we might get something to eat. We still had, 45 minutes, an hour before we needed to drop it off. We got back about 4:30 pretty quick. Had to be dropped off at 5:30. So we rode back out on, I think it's Highway 128, that follows Colorado River and goes northeast towards I-70. And we just ran back out on that, maybe, 10, 15 miles, just because it was pretty with the sun coming in at an angle. Hauled back to town, topped off the Jeep again just to make sure it was full so he didn't get dinged, and went and dropped it off. And we were walking back to the hotel, and we ran into was it Jerome and Jess, the couple that we met yesterday out on the switchbacks on what was I say, that Mineral Canyon Road. It's on the northwest corner of the White Rim Loop. And started talking to them. They were heading to go grab dinner at a place right here by the hotel and have a drink, and we were heading back to the hotel for a while to hang out and then go get dinner at a little Moab diner here right next to the hotel, which was actually really good. I mean, I got breakfast, some of the biggest pancakes I've seen in a long time, with eggs and sausage. I managed to finish one of the pancakes and everything else, but I could not even begin to finish two of them. And then Sarah got probably one of the biggest ice cream cones we've seen on this trip, with the exception of maybe the grasshopper ice cream cone I got in Escalante way back at the beginning of the trip on day, 5, 6, 4, something like that. It was huge. I don't think you didn't finish. She didn't finish it. She ate most of it, but she didn't finish it. But it was really good. And then we just went and walked around town and, like the people watch, went in a bunch of the shops and checked out t-shirts and overpriced tourist stuff, and decided we didn't need any of that, and just came back to the hotel. And they've got this second floor, I don't know what you'd call it, not really a balcony, it's like more like a patio. It's got like a fireplace built into it, got a couple tables up there, got chairs, it's open so you can see out, and people watch from above. Hung out there till 9:30. Started getting cold. I was trying to upload pictures and videos, and I've had terrible luck the last week and a half with any kind of internet. Any of the review videos I do, they just won't upload. I mean, I had one uploading for 12 hours and it was barely halfway through, and normally they'd only take 5-10 minutes. I was able to upload some short videos to Facebook, not to YouTube, and some pictures, so I got another day or so of ride reports done. But tomorrow morning we're gonna get up and head back down on the south side of the La Salle Mountains. I can't remember the highway number. It cuts over towards Naturita, hits 145, and we're gonna run down to Telluride and go back up over Lizard Head Pass all the way to Dolores, I think it is, and cut over towards Mancos, run down US 160 a ways, and then I think it's Highway 140 that runs south almost all the way, 130 or 140, something like that, runs all the way down to Farmington. And it's a 275-mile day, but at least it'll be a pretty ride. Should take us about 6 or 7 hours, maybe, depending on how fast we run it. Get to Farmington, grab the truck, load the bikes up, and try to get in another 5, maybe 6 hours of riding to make it down to St. Helena and spend the night there, and then get up early and just cross West Texas as fast as we can get away with and get home hopefully sometime, I guess Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, something like that. So yeah, that'll be the trip. I mean, tomorrow's the last day of riding. Kind of weird, we've been on the road so long now. It's moving to a new place every other day or so, eating out every meal. It adds up, but at the same time, you kind of get used to it. It's like it's a new lifestyle. But yeah, miss the family, miss friends, miss church. Some of the routine, not all the routine. I've had clients already trying to contact me, wanting to know, you are coming back, right? It's like, yeah. Respond, said yes, and that was it. I didn't really get into any detail, didn't talk to him or anything else. Just said yes, I am coming back. So anyway, we'll see how tomorrow goes. Hopefully it'll be another good day. Today was fun. 2 days in the Jeep was a lot of fun. Not enough to turn me into a Jeeper necessarily, but it does kind of make me want a Jeep, just add to the garage. I'm sure Beth would like it. I know the scenery was, she'd probably like being up in the mountains more than she'd like being out in the desert, but the desert was cool too. So anyway, that's it for today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.